thank you so much for being with us here, Liv. We really appreciate it. If without further ado, I will toss it over to Emma, who has a couple of questions for you about your educational background and different career experiences.
Hi. Um, I just wanted to ask, where'd you attend college for your undergrad degree?
Yes, so I went to the University of Delaware. Roll hens, gotta represent.
Awesome. And what was your major and minor, if you have one, in college?
So I was a bit of an overachiever. I had a double major in political science and women and gender studies, and then I
Wow.
had three minors in French, public policy, and gender and sexuality studies.
Ooh,
Wow.
They said I could keep adding stuff and I could not be stopped. I was like, wait, really? I can add a third one? Sure, why not?
amazing.
Um, so why did you choose women and gender studies?
Yeah, so I started as a freshman as just political science and was taking a lot of those like intro courses, like elective courses that were required by my university. And I found that whenever I had the choice to choose an elective, I kind of ended up choosing a women and gender studies class, just because that's what interested me at the time. And then that kind of turned into, I remember, I think the first one I took was like an American sexualities class, and it was about like sexuality throughout history and just like things anytime like sexuality or gender is kind of brought up or mentioned throughout American history. And it was really interesting. And it did kind of open up this door for me of I was like, I didn't really think that it was an option to just pick these classes and learn about all of the stuff that I'm already super interested in and already thinking about. And so I looked into it a little bit and was like, oh, this sounds like it's exactly what I want to do, actually. And so I ended up adding the major, and then it took me a little bit. And then I realized that there was a separate minor at Delaware for gender and sexuality studies specifically. And so I added that on as well, because again, overachiever. But there was kind of like a different subset of classes that you had to take with that. And yeah, it ended up being like all of my favorite classes I took in undergrad were my women and gender studies classes. I loved my poli sci ones, but I loved the ones that overlapped with my WOMS degree even a little bit more.
Amazing.
Awesome. And so what's your current job title?
Yeah, so currently I am the Interpersonal Violence Prevention Coordinator here at the UNCW CARE office, which CARE stands for Campus Advocacy, Resources, and Education. We are the confidential on-campus resource for student, staff, and faculty who have been impacted by interpersonal violence, so including things like sexual assault, relationship abuse, stalking, harassment, exploitation. Our office has confidential victim advocates to help survivors out. And then I work on the prevention education team. So I supervise a lovely team of student peer educators who will go out on campus and educate our fellow Seahawks on things like consent, healthy relationships, boundaries, even things like dating app safety. We're constantly trying to like update things and keep it as relevant to the student experience as possible.
Awesome. And so what inspired you to apply for this job?
Yes, so I actually got very lucky, and it goes back to my experience at Delaware. I was in undergrad a peer educator in a similar office at the University of Delaware. I was a specifically bystander intervention peer educator. And so since my from sophomore to senior year of my undergrad experience, I was giving presentations to student athletes and sorority and fraternity members on sexual violence prevention and bystander intervention education. And then I graduated and moved down. My parents were living in Charleston at the time, so I moved in with them. And my boss from Delaware actually forwarded me this job position and was like, hey, it's the wrong Carolina than the one you're currently in, but why not check it out? And I read the job description, and it was one of those things that I was like, I never considered doing this work full time, but it was something I did for 3 years in undergrad and was like, I really enjoy doing this. I'm really passionate about it. Why not? And then 2 years later, here I am, and I've been loving it.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Um, and I just want to know, like, what was your path to get where you are now?
Yeah, I will say so. I know I mentioned a little bit about like my
Mm.
undergraduate experiences. I always say I kind of like fell into this work accidentally because to be completely honest, I got my undergrad position because my freshman year I was in a philosophy class, one of those like electives that I was like, this sounds interesting. And I would not shut up in that class. I constantly had something to say, was constantly raising my hand and was like, please, please, let me talk about this. I want to argue. I love philosophy. And so at the end of the semester, that professor was like, hey, I think you should work for my wife. And it just so turned out that he was married to the essentially equivalent of what I do now at Delaware, and she was in the process of completely revamping their program. And so she interviewed me, and I was like completely new to this work, but just very passionate about social justice and human rights, and was like, I want to help people no matter or like in any way that I can. She
Yeah.
explained to me a little bit more about what the program was about, and I was like, yeah, this sounds awesome. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, I was like, okay, but can we tweak things to make, because the students don't talk like that. Like there were certain things in our presentation that I was like, hey, like there's one of the scenarios we used was like there's a party on East Cleveland Avenue, and I was like, okay, none of the students know what that road is. Can we please say the row? Because all of the Delaware students call it like frat row. And so just a few things like that of I was given a lot of freedom to help like update the presentation and make it a little bit more relevant to student life while still being super informational. And then I just kind of became my boss's right-hand man throughout my 3 years of undergrad. I would do those presentations very often and kind of help her again continue to like expand upon things, make things more relevant, update things, keep up with trends and stuff like that. And then I graduated and I was like, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. And again, kind of what I said before of I was just like, I have this degree, I really care, I have a lot of passion for just helping people in literally any walk of life. And again kind of fell into this work. I never really considered it as like a full-time position. And then I saw that it was and was like, oh my God, why haven't I considered this as a full-time position? Like this sounds awesome. So yeah, I do consider myself very lucky.
Uh, so what does a typical day look like for you, or like what are your day-to-day responsibilities?
So it is a little all over the place. It depends on what time of year you catch me at. So right now, as we're coming up to the end of summer, it's been a lot of prep for the fall semester. We get a lot of presentation requests that I have to respond to and schedule out. We have a menu of presentations on CARE's website. I think there's like 8 or 9 that we currently offer. So I'm also going through all of those, making sure all of the scripts are updated and ready for when the students come back. Planning training. There's a lot of the behind the
Mm.
scenes planning that's happening right now, but then during the semester, it is a lot of actually going out on campus and giving presentations. I love public speaking. I know a lot of people hate it. I love the attention. So I'm like, please, yes, everybody listen to me. So I will always, if one of our students can't cover a presentation, I'm like, oh, I got it. Don't even worry about it. And same with tablings on campus. We do a lot of awareness raising tablings, especially around bigger awareness months. Like October is our big month for the fall because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So we host a big Take Back the Night event that we get to do on campus, which is really cool and empowering. And I think that is another thing about my job that not a lot of people looking from the outside would realize is not only do I need to be a subject matter expert on interpersonal violence, but I also need to be able to public speak and market events and do social media marketing and do programming and scheduling and supervising. So
Yeah.
there is kind of a lot that goes into it, but again, it's something that I'm really passionate about. And so that just keeps me going even when there's like scheduling nonsense in the background. I'm like, no, but it will be worth it. It will all work out.
100%.
I think you've like um talked about this a little already, but how has having a major in WGS influenced your career or your professional life?
Oh my gosh. I feel like in so many ways, like there's just so many things that women and gender studies teaches you that it like opens your eyes to so many things that you wouldn't have thought about. Or it's one of those things that like you don't know that you don't know something until you know it. Like you're not even aware of everything going on in the world, everything that could be going on in another person's life. Like you don't know what that person is bringing to the table. And it is, especially in today's world, like everyone should have a little bit more empathy and sympathy for each other as we don't really know what people are going through. And I think that that's a really valuable skill that has taught me, or that women in gender studies has taught me, is like you never really know what someone's going through or what they're bringing to the table that day. So just always going in with an open mind. And this goes for like my personal life, but also professionally, like going into a presentation, like you never really know what experiences the group of people you're talking to has had.
Mhm.
And so that's something that I need to be really mindful of, especially when we're doing presentations on more sensitive topics. So that has been really helpful. I'm trying to think of like other specifics, but I feel like it has just like the entire experience of that major has shaped like me as a person and my career path as well in so many ways that I couldn't even name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how has it benefited you on a personal level?
Yes, I do feel like a lot of the like interpersonal skills, and kind of like I was mentioning of like you never really know what someone's bringing to the table. I feel like it has allowed me to be a lot more empathetic to other people in my life and has allowed me to grow a lot as a person and just kind of gaining an understanding of the world. And I also think like through this work specifically, just I don't know, kind of giving you a different worldview of like we all should be looking out for each other, and it's not that hard to be kind to others.
Mhm.
And I think another really big thing is as like social workers, I'm sure you've heard of the starfish story, of essentially it's the moral of the story is if you help one person, you're doing your job correctly. And I do think that is one thing that like women in gender studies really taught me is the impact you make on one person is enough. Even if you're just impacting that one person, even if one person in a presentation is the only one paying attention to me, then I am doing my job because helping one person, like you make a difference to that one person. And so I do think that that has, like, not only in my prevention work here, but in my life in general, has been something that I've taken with me of like, all you can do is be your best self and help the people around you. And that's kind of all you can do.
Mhm. Yes. And for my last question, what is some advice you would give to a current UNCW student considering a minor in WGS?
Do it. Absolutely do it. It is 100% worth it. It is one of those things that I feel like a lot of people, and we were talking a little bit before the interview, of a lot of people are like, what are you going to do with that great degree? And it's more so, what can't you do with that degree? Like there is so many fields you can go into. There's so many things you can do. And even if you don't go into a field related to women and gender studies, there's so many important life skills that you learn from it. And so, yeah, I would just 100% recommend it to anybody considering it because there are really so many different ways you could go with it.